Thank you. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me on this lovely Thursday. So, what we're going to talk about today is economically disadvantaged students, okay, and how they perform academically. So, if you all could please adjust your paperwork, slide it over here, and open it up to the third page. So everybody, you should be on percentage, approach, grade, level, standard. So what I want us to do is look at the percentages as far as economically disadvantaged students on this page. And once you look at those percentages, I would like for you to tell me the trend that you see so far. Just specifically looking at the number.
Just by looking at the number and the economic disadvantage, I see that the first year is low, then the 2023 it trends up, and then 2024 goes back down.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that concurrent for each grade level.
Okay.
Looking at this, you can see fourth and fifth grade, it continues to rise, but in the third grade level, it drops in the 25-24.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you notice?
It seems like overall, each time in 2023 was a higher year. A higher amount for each that time.
And
Mhm.
it doesn't go above 75.9.
77. 77. It went up. It went up to 77.8 for fourth grade in 2024. So it puts me on the approached.
Page 10.
Yeah.
Ten?
Mhm. So just probably go back one page. Yeah. Or let me see. Pages. Mm-hmm. So like right here. So I noticed that as well. And what I also noticed was that every year, except specifically for 2024 for third grade, was above 50%, which means that there were a lot of students who took this STAR test that were actually economically disadvantaged. And when we think about the term economically disadvantaged, like we want to acknowledge students who do not have resources, like academic resources outside of being at school. Some students may not have proper needs as far as like living at home, food, accessories, things of that level. So I thought that was really high. So as myself, what I did, do you guys know how to calculate percentages of numbers to see exactly how many students we will be talking about? So if you look at your calculator, we could just do 1 year to just kind of get a idea of what I'm talking about. You take out your calculator and you do 61%. Thank God for the updates on Apple's calculator. Now you can hit the percent button. If you hit the percent button, it'll give you exactly what you need. So 61% times 42, because it says it was for third grade in 2022. It was 61% of those students were economically disadvantaged, and the number of students that was tested was 42. So when you do that, what number did you get? 26. So out of 42 students.
No, I'm sorry. That was for the.
It was actually 26.
No, it's 26.
Really?
You're actually right.
No,
Yeah, 20. It was 26 for 22 and 23.
Okay.
Yep. So it's 26. So out of 42 students, 26 of those students were economically disadvantaged, and they got approaches on their STAR test. Now, as we know, I know you're new to teaching. When you are taking a STAR test, you have do not meets, approaches, met, masters. Do not meets is typically if you are 2 to 3 grade levels below what you should be in the academic level. So, for example, if you had a third grader, this third grader could be performing on kinder first level. That's what we mean by do not meet. Like it's a large gap. Approaches is basically where you may have not passed the STAR test, but you were almost there. You were almost at grade level. You almost almost met all of the content that you needed to know for that year. So we strive to really not have any do not meets, and if at the minimum approaches. So yes, 26 students were economically disadvantaged, and those 26 students met approaches. So they were almost there. If we go down the trend for 2023, it was also 26 students. And for 2024, it was 15 students. Now, I noticed that even if we look at fourth grade, there is a lower number of students, of economically disadvantaged students, that met approaches in 2024. So for third grade, for 2024, I got 15. For fourth grade, I got 22 students out of 28. And then for fifth grade, for 27, for fifth grade, I got 27 out of 35. Now, I wondered to myself, if you guys take a look at the numbers right here in numbers tested, what do you notice?
So I'm keeping in mind that the numbers does go down, but we need to look at the total of the students tested is also growing. So we're still being in that 50% or 60% of students being economically disadvantaged.
You're absolutely right. See, that's what I thought. That's what I came to a conclusion with as well. When I looked at the number of students tested, is that in 2022, we had 114 students. 2023, we had 120. But in 2024, we went down to only 99 students were tested. So with these percentages being so high and fluctuating up and down, and us seeing a decrease in the number in a whole in 2024, I thought to myself, well, why did we see the decrease? But then I looked at the number of students tested. We didn't have the same amount of students. We had less students. So I wonder, did it go down because there were less students? So did enrollment for 2024 play a role in how these percentages for economically disadvantaged students came about? What do you guys think?
I don't. So you're saying you think enrollment played a part in the test scores?
Because they were for 2024, because there was less students in the school. Is what it.
So because if you look in
Or less students in those grades. Well, basically less students in the school, because that's third through fifth.
If you look at fourth grade on 2022, you have 35, and then 45, and for 2024 we have 28. That's a big difference between 45 students and 28 students. You don't see that much difference for the third grade. That it's quite a difference for third to fifth as well, because from 99 and 120, that's 20 students, 21. So I do believe enrollment has something to do with it, but at the same time, maybe not for third grade and fifth grade itself.
See, I would think for third and fifth grade, for third and fourth, because third and fourth, it said there was 77.8, which was showing kind of like a high number, but for third grade, it was only 42.9. So I would think maybe we had, even though enrollment went down as a whole, I would say for the school, or for those grade levels third through fifth, it seems like there were not a lot of students in third grade last year, which is why their percentage may be a little bit lower. They're all low, but third grade seems to change drastically, because they have the lowest, and their percent was only 42.9%.
And that's a bit concerning, because we can bring about the pandemic and whatnot for 2022, because we were still in the coronavirus, and it was still higher than the next few years.
Yeah, and there was the students did need lot of resources outside of school.
Mhm.
And even we are talking about academically disadvantaged students. So I definitely agree with what you said. So those are the percentages for students who approached. Let's turn the page, and we should now be looking at students who did not meet. Did not meet, meaning there were no close. The next page, which should be page 11. This is not broken down into percentages. This is specific students to see if we can get more so of a clear view. That did not meet, not didn't approach. They just did not meet in general.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a few. Mhm.
Well, third grade in 2024 has the highest number, like more than half of their students are approached in that year. 20 out of 36.
So I see,
Did not.
Not me, not approached.
I see, from looking at the total numbers and the numbers of the economic disadvantaged students, how about all of the grade levels, I see a trending number of like 1/3 of those students not approaching, with also up to 1/2.
Mhm.
So it becomes greater in 2024.
So if we're looking at this when we say did not meet, and we're talking about, of course, the end of the year test for which is STAR. Why do we think, even in all of these years, except for fourth grade in 2023, why do you think these economically disadvantaged kids? Let's talk about it. Again, we know that they have minimal resources outside of school. You know, parents may not have went to school, so they might not even have help to do homework, you know, and master content. You know, and they're still struggling for personal, or they're in need of like personal things just to, you know, survive and make sure that they can make it day by day, like they're taking it day at a time. But why do we think that third grade's number was so high? Outside of knowing those resources, do you think anything else could play into third grade's numbers being so high?
It may be something that is being taught in third grade, something new.
Well, did
That
they
is
pilot, what's it called that year?
Amplifying Eureka.
They started
So you see how,
amplifying.
yeah. So even if we go back to these trends being 22, 24, 21, I mean, well, for third grade specifically, 20, well, anyway, all of them, 26, 24, 21, and even specifically just honed in on third grade on this page because they performed, I guess, the least out of all groups.
Yeah.
We could dig in deeper, and as our principal says, what she said? Drill the data to go deeper and see, okay, so third grade performed the least out of third through fifth for did not meets. Why? What could have happened in third grade, or what, you know, what things did they experience that made them not perform for the past 3 years, like they performed the lowest? And so one thing you did bring up is a new pilot of content. A new pilot of content. So this content is more rigorous. So again, if you don't have the resources, how can you keep up with the amount of rigor that is needed to go into this new curriculum? Because you're used to seeing a whole different thing, a whole different way of learning with your teachers or throughout your campus. And this teacher is used to teaching different, and then boom, both of you guys are stuck with this curriculum and said, hey, you have to learn this. This is what you're going, this is the state of Texas is doing this content, so you have no choice but to do that.
And well, a lot of times too, in Eureka Amplify, they'll tell you even if the kid is not there, or like if the kid's not there, if they're falling behind, just go on to the next lesson. They'll catch up next time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a lot of kids just fall behind and they just keep falling, keep falling, keep falling.
And the teacher cannot focus.
No room
put
for
everything-
differentiation.
She cannot put everything to the side to focus on those 2 students, 3 students, because if she has a larger group that she or he has to focus on.
Mhm. So the need for differentiation, especially with economically disadvantaged students, right? They need extra support. So they're not able to get the extra support. So extra support, different curriculum, and biggest thing of them all, this is your first year testing.
As well.
Because you take, well, before they got rid of MAP, which is why I chose first not to even look at MAP in this meeting, that's all you've seen as a MAP test that lasts maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, fall, winter, spring, that's it. You've never actually had to sit down with a rigorous test that may have anywhere from 30 to 40 questions. And not only on top of that, you have to show work for all of these questions. So you're learning technique. You're in a different testing environment. Until you have more pressure riding on these tests. And there is a huge difference between curriculum just even from going 2nd grade to 3rd grade. Just for the minimal fact that you are now testing. You gotta put your big girl pants on and stuff like that. There's a large gap even in between the curriculum that you're learning. So there's a lot of pressure on 3rd grade students, or there was a lot of pressure on 3rd grade students that we can infer as far as the reading, language, arts start. There was a lot of testing. I mean, a lot of stress that was put on them that could have possibly played a role.
With just a curriculum without including what maybe happened in our home.
Right.
Or social awareness.
Mm-hmm. That's just even, on top of what's going on in school. That's just added to it. And of course, we're all supposed to do SEL activities every morning to kind of like alleviate some of that stress from what may be happening for students at home, but are we really doing it? I mean, I know we do it as pre-K. We kind of don't have a choice, but think about it.
Not
Again,
only that, I feel like sometimes it may be conflicted by time.
time. Now, and I would say this as I taught Amplify and Eureka in a testing grade, and the curriculum is bell to bell. Like, you don't have time to circle back and grab that student, and you gotta do your curriculum checks and
You gotta make time.
just yeah.
You gotta try.
You gotta make time. You gotta make time, and a lot of people take that time from the SEL strategy who economically disadvantaged students may need that.
Now let's add that it's one teacher for how many students?
One teacher for how many students? That's a valid point. That's a valid point too. How many students are in the class?
For one teacher.
Because we already know they need extra support. So a lot of these roles could play in how they are performing academically. What do we think about 4th and 5th grade?
The numbers on 4th grade it went down.
It went
In 2020, it went starting from 2022. But you can see in 2023 where it increased because, again, probably the curriculum changed.
Curriculum change.
But by that time, they already get used to it by next year, it seems like.
It
So.
increased, but also the total number of students increased as well.
Curriculum change, and then
So it
I did not require this of you all, but even like at the back when they talked about teacher retention. Teacher retention in 2023, majority of half the staff here at H.I. Holland left.
So you
So-
got new teachers, new curriculum.
New teacher, new curriculum, or a teacher that's all the way already going out the door. You know what I'm saying? Going out the door. So they may not be wanting to teach to their full potential and capacity because they know they're leaving. Yeah, multiple reasons. I do like the fact that in 2024 it went down. Both of them, it went down for 4th and 5th grade. So we got a little bit, at least a little bit more of our students we were able to pull from their do not meets and at least get them to approaches or METs, and that's for reading and language arts. Ms. Reyes, are you aware that for the STAR, there's 3 categories: reading, math, and science? That's it. Okay. So when we get to science, of course, bless you. Of course, we'll just specifically be talking about 5th grade, but still economically disadvantaged
So
students.
starting third grade year, you have those classes.
No, so in 3rd and 4th grade, you take reading and math.
Okay.
But 5th grade, you take reading, math, and science.
Okay. So it's not only one test for the 3rd grade year, it's 2 that they have to focus.
Reading and math, core content, reading and math. So if we flip the page, we're now in METS. So that is page 12. That means these students were actually on grade level. They were able to do what they needed to do. So on page 12, while looking, one thing that automatically stood out to me was the huge drop in percentages that we just saw. We went from seeing like 70s and approaches to 50s and did not meet, and then here we go, we have METs, and how many of them do we see over 40%?
2. 2 and 1 at 40.
5th grade in 2023 and 4th grade in 2022.
And 5th grade 2024 being at 40. Yeah.
And on the right again, we have how many students. Let's test it. So I'm seeing even the drastic. We don't even have to talk about the numbers on the side, but seeing the drastic drop in percentages. What could you say about economically disadvantaged students?
So they take at least 1/3 of the total of the students. It's kind of trending for each grade level each year that are meeting the grade level standard.
But what's the one thing that we could say? Because we just went over approached, meaning they almost passed. They were maybe like a few things off. Did not meet, mean you were nowhere near close to passing. And then now we are at METs, which means you passed. The percentages we know dropped drastically, right? So we could say or infer that majority of our economically disadvantaged students in the campus do not perform academically.
Not performing grade level.
They're not on grade level. So what could we do as a campus to make sure that we are giving everything that we can to that specific, not audience, but to those specific students?
I would see what changes once you go to 3rd grade level and kind of take that apart and implement it into the other grade level, so it won't be so new to them. Once they go to 3rd grade, they already know, hey, we're writing questions, we have to do this, show your work. And it can be small stuff, it don't have to be so structured like the 3rd grade level, but just so they can have an idea of what's coming. And also, you mentioned retention with the teachers, so making sure you're Oliver has a teacher that are wanting to stay and are wanting to work with the students, so they won't see new faces, and then also as a principal, not know who you're really hiring. So because let's say you hire someone and she leaves the next year, you bring in somebody new that might leave again, so it messes up the whole structure at the school.
So you say automatically just even because we haven't even looked at math, or it's only like 3 pages of science and it's only 1 grade, so that would be really fast to look at. But what you're saying, just even from looking at these 3 pages of data, you see that already there needs to be something implemented as far as how can we improve our culture, the culture of the campus, as well as how can we increase student achievement. How can we bridge that gap between second and third grade to make sure at least when they get to third grade they have some exposure in their
So I really think
kind of
that,
head.
teacher attention, like, cause me personally looping, it really has helped me want to stay for a little bit, cause I loop up with my kids and I go up with my kids and I'm able to stay with them. And so looking at the economically disadvantaged kids in this specific section, you know, they're not used to having like a type of structure at home probably, or having that consistent person that's always there for them. But when they come to school, that teacher is always there for them. So I really think that if potentially teachers had the option to loop up with their kids, it would really help, and like really help build them more. And like you already know that group of kids, and you already know all their like their how they learn and the best ways to teach them. Why go to a new, not like a new teacher, but like possibly a different teacher or a teacher who's just starting, and then it restarts all over again. The kids are lost all over again.
I agree, because they already know your expectations and your teaching style, right? So it's like you took the time to build that bond, build that relationship, create that bridge, so that for when they go to that next grade level and you're there, they're automatically comfortable and they're just able to go ahead and take off, like just continue where they left off. I agree. I've never looped. Unfortunately, I have taught multiple grades. I mean, I guess it was kind of a loop, but really wasn't. What year was that? I think 2022. I don't know. I taught third grade self-contained, and then the next year, due to my star grades being so high, when I came back into a 3-4 split for RLA and social studies. So even though I wasn't just self-contained, I still had my students, all of my students from last year, but I had them for reading and social studies. So it was like kind of like a loop, but kind of not. Like, yeah, okay. So
Also taking like input from the teachers on what do they think, what are they something that they're struggling with, so Asian Holland can better assist. So we can also learn, like if a fourth grade teacher feels like she's having trouble maybe keeping focus in class, and third grade teacher says that as well, so that's something that is about the students. In addition to time management and teaching.
okay, I agree. So let's see if we still have those suggestions by the time we get through this. Next, we have masters.
What page number?
13. This is just for reading.
That's just reading.
Reading.
So at least 25% or less.
Or less. No grade level, no year had above the number of 10 students that were economically disadvantaged that mastered the Reading Star. The highest we have is 9 students, and that was by 4th grade in 2022.
It makes you wonder what is on the test and what is in the curriculum that's making it go so drastically low. How do you go from, even though 9.8 sound a lot in 2022, 8.8 sound a lot, but how do we drop from 8.8 to 2.9% of kids? 2% of kids passing.
That's a great observation.
Think about even in 4th grade, 2023, that's when the curriculum change happened. Now we go from 25% to 6.8%. And I feel like if you look at this, looking at this from 2.9, these are the kids. 2.9 in the 3rd grade, right? And then we look at 4th grade, 2024. Those are the kids from that year. They probably got used to it, but they still aren't getting it. There's no understanding still. Like they're not grasping the concepts in that curriculum or the test. So it's like what's really going
Mhm. 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 So maybe not all of just academically disadvantaged. I mean, economically disadvantaged. That's not the only thing playing a role in why these kids aren't achieving on grade level. Let's say that, because everybody achieves, everybody learns in their different ways, but performing like how we would like for them to perform. Flip that page, guys. We're now in mathematics. Oh.
What page number?
15. So I mean, automatically, just right out the bat, I mean, I kind of slight change in mathematics percentages, but not that much. So we still have a lot of students that are with this disadvantage who were approached. So I mean, I guess it is. So we can look at the glass half empty or half full. Because we could have had a lot of students, or a high percentage of students in the did not meet category, right? Meaning you were nowhere close. However, the highest percentages that we're seeing is in approach, which means we still have hope. We just need to give extra resources, right? Extra time, extra resources. So it's important for us to make sure that we're getting that pull-out time, small group instruction, lab time, sending home homework, even if you have to send, unfortunately, a cheat sheet for the parents so that they can help their kids while they're at home, tutoring, like you said.
And maybe not tutoring towards the end of the year, but like if you already see since the beginning of the year, some students are having a hard time, implement it early on. Because if you wait till the last day of by the end of the semester, the end of the year,
did you really help
how
the
is
student?
that gonna make a change?
Well, they do that really because the test is coming up.
Right.
They say we don't teach the test, but we teach you this test. And so they start tutoring around the time testing season's coming up, when the kids are having more tests. So they start tutoring, so like by the time the tests come around, they will hopefully have a grasp of what you've been doing at school and tutoring.
And that's why I'm mentioning to early on. If you already can tell that some students are gonna struggle, you already can see that some students are having a hard time. Implement it early on so they can.
So being proactive, being intentional with the learning, and being proactive instead of reactive.
Right.
Could also be a thing. I like that. You guys, I like that. Okay. I ain't gonna give y'all too many compliments. I know. We gotta get back to teaching. Flip the page, please. Did not meet. As we know, I think like for math and reading, we kind of really are seeing like the same trend. It almost gives really the energy or the sort of, if we're looking at the numbers, if you did not pass reading, you definitely didn't pass math, right? Because you have to read in order to do your math too, right? So it's definitely giving that these students, they just did not meet in either or. So that could be a foundational problem, because these are really roughly the same amount of students that did not meet reading, also did not meet math. So how do we think that happened? Like, could it be a foundation problem?
I always say it starts in pre-K.
Right, like maybe
a lot of kids don't go to pre-K.
Yeah.
Because here you don't have to start school.
You
can
absolutely
start school first grade. So a lot of kids start to jump off being behind the other kids. So a lot of kids start first grade. They're still learning stuff that you would need from pre-K. Fine motor skills. They might need to relearn fine motor skills. Reading, learning how to hold a pencil, all that stuff.
So pre-K and kindergarten.
Pre-K.
learning their ABCs, how to even count.
One-to-one correspondence, all that stuff.
Without adding independency, social,
emotional learning, right? Just being in a whole
and then
school
then
atmosphere.
again, the big difference of having 2 to 3 teachers in a classroom to just 1. And it's the same students are, well, some of them.
Yeah.
The majority.
Yeah. crazy because even though I drilled this data and I looked also myself, it's just as we're talking as a group, just coming up with a whole lot of other factors outside of them having this one main heavy thing too. So it's like these kids have like triple things that could work against them and how they perform academically that we may not even take into account all the time. Okay, so that's not approached. For meds, numbers are lower, right, than reading. For med, we're in double digits. We're at 12, 14, and 17%.
Is it higher than reading?
For for reading, for reading, we were in the 20s, 30s, 40s. We had 150, 58.8. Over here, what, 5th grade, we're half we're performing. But here we are. We 12, 14, 17, 34, just meeting. So again, that's making sure that with knowing those factors, how can we contribute to those factors that they have and be more intentional at school? Like even just starting with leadership, cultural experiences, right? Making sure that your teachers are being heard, excited. What kind of ideas how can your teacher contribute to their own classroom? Teacher autonomy to a certain extent because we have new curriculum. It's hard to implement small group instruction. And I mean, you gotta think about even the economically disadvantaged, their trauma and how their trauma can affect their teacher. Secondary trauma. It's a lot. I feel like everybody has a part that they can play in making sure that we change the stigma around economically disadvantaged, but also just change the percentages in the whole. Do we think that we're going the extra mile? Okay. Do we think that we're going the extra mile?
And it's not that we're saying that they're not capable of, it's
Right.
just that, it's like a Jenga. You take out one piece because they didn't have food at home. Another piece, they were cold last night. Another piece, they saw their parents argue. They don't have a car, they didn't come for 3 days because something happened at home. And then you take that other piece because you're not understanding and you're shy to say something. Another piece, you've never learned nothing in the past few years. So what happens? It all troubles down.
There's a lot of things that you correct, right? And then you come to school and you want this to be your safe place, but lo and behold, there's no SEL that has taken place. You come in, you're scared to ask for help, because you see these students who are performing at a different level around you, so you're scared to help, ask your own teacher for help. And then your teacher is struggling in their own curriculum, so they may know that you need help. However, they don't have the time to stop and actually help you.
Or maybe they don't know how.
Or maybe they don't know how, as far as when it comes to implementing a new curriculum or what is and isn't okay. Like what their principal, their leadership is going to allow. That's a lot. That can definitely be. That could definitely, I can see it. Okay, here's our last page, guys. Here we go. Mathematics for 3rd through 5th grade. We are looking at mastered levels. So again, that means you went a little bit above and beyond. Like if you were 3rd grade, you were performing almost at 4th or 5th grade level, and you surpassed
And
for that math.
a big
Zero. For 3rd grade, 0%, not one person got mastered for math in 2023 for 3rd grade.
And there's really not a big difference among the years. We go like from 3rd grade, I see 4 to 5, 4th grade 17, 15, 20, still not a great difference. 5th grade still not more than 5, 1, 2, 3. It's not a big difference.
Those numbers are low, yeah. And that's like saying,
States.
like that's at the maximum, even with these teen percentages at the maximum we're seeing, that's about 7 kids.
And that's,
From between 3rd through 5th, each time it's like 7 kids.
that really has to say something because it's 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade.
For each grade level, each year, 7 kids at the max. And that's really for 4th to 5th, because for 3rd grade, for all of those years, the max they had was 3
And
kids.
if you really think about it, you look at it, go from like 2023, 3rd grade, and then to 4th grade. I mean, what I mean is like 2023, they had the 0, and then next year they went to 2024 for 4th grade, right?
And they went to 20.
But then you have to think, well, then they had a decrease in students. I don't know.
That's our timer. It's getting ready to go off, but we can finish definitely talking about this page because it's interesting, right? This is things that we do not
So
see.
you have
This
50,
is information that you do have to
so if you
request.
have, in 2022, you have 50 students that started in 3rd grade. And then the next year, it was 47, so they lost 3 students. 5th grade, for 2024, it goes down to 38, so they lost 7 minus 2, 9 students. So they do lose students, but it's still, the number goes greater.
It could have,
It goes greater from
So
4%
I
to,
mean, you could say like that year the kids probably started to learn with Eureka a little bit more, but then that's not showing anything.
and that's not even enough.
Yeah.
You gonna hire us?
Teacher, yeah, so teacher retention, there's a lot of things that can play into economically disadvantaged students not
I would
necessarily performing.
Teacher
Like-
incentive as well, because,
There's a lot of moving pieces
yes,
that
like
we have to
I know we focus in
think about.
3rd and 5th grade, but the lower grade levels are the ones that are building that foundation.
Yeah,
for
it
them
starts
to
with us.
continue.
It definitely does. Now, I want y'all guys to pause, wave at my camera, because we're out of here. This is Miss Reyes. This is Miss Cosby. Thank you guys for agreeing to do this with me.